It is Friday again, and that means my favorite way, and hopefully your favorite way, to get to know your Atlas recruiter, the often imitated, never duplicated Atlas MedStaff 5-Question Friday. With me this week, Marquita Johnson. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Okay, so you ready to do this?
Yeah.
Question number 1. Tell me who Marquita is.
Wow, that's a loaded question. I always feel like that Meredith Brooks song. Do you know? For the sake of you and everybody else, I'll spare the title of that song. But I'm a little bit of everything wrapped into one. I wear many hats, and sometimes I keep all of those hats straight on my head. Sometimes some of them fall off. Sometimes all of them fall off. Yeah. Exactly. But I'm a wife. I am a mom of 2. I actually have a 17-year-old who is a senior in high school this year. And then I have a little boy who just turned 4 a couple of weeks ago. We're not even in kindergarten yet, so we started all over.
Big range right there.
It's a huge range. Different experiences, different challenges, if you will. But it's amazing. They're 2 beautiful kids. I am a daughter, sister, aunt. I am a lover of God. I am a respiratory therapist. I'm a former traveler with Atlas MedStaff, and I am a recruiter with Atlas MedStaff now. And anybody out there looking, if you're looking for your next recruiter, I'm your girl.
Yeah, that's question number 2. You started with us as a traveler, as a traveling respiratory therapist. And so I want to know, when you made that career choice to be a respiratory therapist, like, what was behind that? Like, what was your impetus to become a respiratory therapist?
I had always wanted to go into the medical field. I think, like most little kids, my dream as a young kid was to be a doctor, a pediatrician. And I actually fell into banking. So I did banking. I was a licensed personal banker for like 8 years. And then I decided that, I wanted to go, pursue my dream to go into healthcare. Initially, I actually was going into nursing. During that time, my daughter, she had been dealing with some skin issues. She had eczema for a very long time, and we dealt with that for a while. And then finally we went to go see an allergist and did an allergy test, found out that she was allergic to all kinds of things. Her allergist was actually a pediatrician, he was a former pediatrician. He was an amazing doctor. You can't even get in to see him. He's so good. He said, when this happens, I just want to go ahead and forewarn you that typically kids will develop asthma behind this type of eczema and allergy. And so the very next day, my daughter developed asthma. Or she had her very first asthma attack. You have to go through a range of things to actually categorize it as asthma. I had to miss, school. My professor was a doctor, and he asked me one day, he said, "Have you ever thought about being a respiratory therapist?" And I was like, no. In all fairness, no one in my family has asthma or, anything else. Later on, when I became a respiratory therapist, came to find out what COPD was. My grandmother actually passed away from COPD, but I didn't know what that was during the time. After a couple of, stints in the hospital, I actually decided to go to respiratory school, and here I am.
Isn't it interesting how it's generally like kids or family or something like that in our lives that have led us to where we are right now?
It helps you, when you're working with patients and things like of that nature. I educate my parents a lot, obviously, because I've dealt with it personally. And I understand how scared I was when my daughter initially developed, or when she had her very first asthma attack. I didn't know what was going on. I didn't know what to do. I didn't know anything about the disease process. So it really does help when you have someone that can relate to you and say, hey, I've been in your shoes. I know how this feels, and these are some of the steps that you're going to need to take.
Question number 3. I love to scour the bios of our internal staff, and here's what I found about yours. You have 2 Maya Angelou quotes in your bio right now. I want to know. We all have our favorite authors and poets and whatever. Like, what is special about her to you?
I think Maya Angelou is just a woman and a woman of color that, at the end of the day, she really does resonate with my soul. And one of my favorite quotes on there is, "Do what you can until you know better, and then do do better. I'm pretty sure I just summarized all that up. But at the end of the day, that's like the story of my life. Like at the end of the day, I try my best to do the best that I possibly can or do what I can until I know how to do things a little bit better. So I think she just resonates with me and just resonates with my soul. She's just an amazing author. Every time she walks in a room, she literally just stops the room. And that's the type of woman I want to be.
Question number 4. This may relate to that. I don't know. Who or what inspires you?
My family inspires me. I'll definitely say my kids inspire me to do, the best that I possibly can. The biggest inspiration that I have right now, I do have to say, is my husband. My husband is an 8th grade social studies teacher, but that wasn't his original path. He actually stumbled upon it. He became a substitute teacher a while ago, like 6 years ago. We found out that this was his passion and this was his calling. He is amazing with his students. He builds relationships and bonds with them. And even when they go off to college or high school, they're still calling him to just talk to him and get advice and things of that nature. So because that wasn't his original path, there were so many things that he was required to do. He had to go and take a praxis test and he passed it. Then he had to go get his master's degree. He just graduated in May with his master's degree. Then they came back with another praxis test that he had to take. That took about 6 weeks to get the results. So he was on pins and needles, but he just got the results last Friday and he passed the praxis test. He's just inspiring. When I decided to go traveling, our son was like 7 months old. Everybody was virtual and I had been wanting to do it for a very long time. And he was just encouraging and held down the fort while I was gone for a little while. And he's just all around great guy, very inspiring.
Question number 5. If you could go anywhere in the world, where would you go?
I want to go to Africa, Tanzania, especially. I want to go to Mount Kilimanjaro, all of that. But that's definitely on my bucket list. I know a lot of people say Greece, but I definitely want to go to Santorini. I want to take one of those little flying, put my little dress on and take one of those little flying dress pictures. And then Bangkok, Thailand is actually one of the places that we're looking at right now too. So
Steve Ryan, we do that mission trip there every year to Tanzania, to Moshi, to the base of. You should absolutely do this. Like, that sounds awesome.
The year you all went, I just started. So I definitely plan on hopefully hopping on the next trip.
You are an allied recruiter for us. So talk about that. This doesn't count as a question. Talk about that for just a little bit and how that you've transitioned into that role from a respiratory therapist now into a allied recruiter.
As I said, before, when I went traveling, my little boy was 7 months old. It got to the point where it's a little difficult. I was literally flying back and forth every week. Yeah, I know Orlando's airport like the back of my hand. So I was literally flying back and forth every week. And it got to be a little bit too much once the world opened back up and my family went back to work and back to school. But I still love everything about the travel world. Like, there were so many great people that I got to meet, so many great experiences that I had, so many skills that I learned, even as a respiratory therapist. And I think that it is amazing that when people are given this opportunity or, seeking this opportunity to start traveling, it is an amazing thing. And so I wanted to continue to be a part of that, even though I physically could not do it. And now, I was hoping to jump back in, but now that we're starting all over, I don't know if that'll ever happen. This is my way of being a part of the travel world, if you will, having a little bit of experience with it. I'm a huge people person. I love people. I'm an honest recruiter. So I love that when people cross my path, that they know that, hey, I've got someone who really cares about me, who really wants to see me do well, who's got knowledge of the industry, like all of those things. So that's kind of how I fell into the recruiting world. And it's definitely been, it has its ups and downs and highs and lows. The market has been crazy, and recruiting, I tell people, is not a 9 to 5. I have travelers that are night shifters and I have travelers that are day shifters, different specialties. It is definitely interesting in this role, but I absolutely love what I do. Absolutely love it.
There you go. That's why we do those things right here. So if Marquita sounds like the type of recruiter for you and you are an allied health traveler, we would love to have you. And she would love to have you on her desk. So we'll put all of her contact information right down below here. Marquita, thank you so much. Again, I hope to meet you in person someday. I hope you come to Omaha. Actually, we'll keep
yes.
We're going to be at TravCon together here in about a month. So
Yes.
if you're going to TravCon, seek us out. We will. We'd be happy to talk to you there.
Thank you.
Marquita, thank you so much. We'll see you next time.